All right, class. Welcome back to English 1301. I hope you're all doing well. We're going to take up from where we took off from last time, or I should say, class, where we finished. Last time I posted a lecture for you on the 25th of February, not that many days ago, where I started lecturing on the profile writing in the profile essay class. I lectured on what necessary ingredients need to be in a profile. We talked about, and I lectured on the great New York Times profile, A Surgeon's War on Breast Cancer, written by Molly O'Neill and published in the New York Times. We talked about aspects of what made that work. We talked about specific writing. All these things that you're going to do for me, for your profile. We talked about how Molly O'Neill went down to UCLA and interviewed Dr. Susan M. Love. That's what you're going to do for me for this assignment. You could do it on Zoom. You could do it through any of the video devices that you can use, or you could do it in person. If you're going to do it in person, social distancing. And what you want to do is you are going to bring in 10 questions that you will ask your person. Write them out ahead of time in order to get them to talk. Okay? So there's footwork to be done. We talked about this last time that you have to do. Okay? You can't interview someone who's dead. You can't write a profile about someone who's dead. You can't interview your boyfriend or girlfriend. You can't do a family member, but you can do anyone else. And I'm going to give you examples today of that. Plus, class, last time, we dug in deep also to interview with an artist. Okay? That was an English 1301 student's profile essay. Was it perfect? No. Was it very good? Yes. Should you study these two examples as the type of writing you're going to do? Absolutely. Okay. Betsy Buffo was an English 1301 student. She sat down with the artist Derek Washington, as you're going to sit down, and she interviewed him for an hour. Once again, during that hour, she had written out 10 questions ahead of time. And during that hour, while he talks and answers his questions, the interviewer notes, try and get down everything as much as you can. If you've never done this before, class, it'll be fascinating, okay? I remember the first time I did it, my professors told me this is going to be really a trip. It'll be fascinating for you. And I remember when the person I was interviewing started talking and I went to interview them, and all of a sudden going through my mind all these things I'm thinking about, which you need to think about. How do I get in and out of this in 1 hour? The footwork takes 1 hour. And this person is talking a lot. So as they're talking, once again, it's one of the highlights of the last lecture. How do we take notes when people are talking? How do we get it down? Okay? If you don't take notes, you're never going to make it through college. Okay? If you don't take notes and pay attention, you won't make it through life. So it's really important to, once again, take notes. And sometimes people say, well, I remember everything. You don't remember anything. Most people don't, unless it's written down. Okay? So notes. once again. Uh-oh, there goes some things from my journal. I better pick those up. Coming down, all right? Class. So that's what Molly O'Neill did. And that is what Betsy Buffo did. Then, when you're done with your hour interview, you'll have all these notes, okay? What I would do, and always have done when I used to do this for a living, working as a daily newspaper reporter, you take your notes, you look through them, and you start thinking to yourself, how am I going to start this essay? Or what do I want to include in the essay? And then what you get out is a highlighter pen. Go through your notes and you start saying, first of all, one way to start a profile is, what's the most interesting thing that person said? Boom. Start the profile with that. That's a technique that I learned in journalism school. And then let it roll from there. And generally, it'll be like an opening line or two, little background information on the person, then a quote from them, their words, then a little background information out of the quote, then another quote, then some more information, then another quote. Class, what I'm looking for is a profile, 700 to 1,000 words, that brings me this person, okay? You're going to use the quotes from that person. You're going to use background information from that person, all right? And you're going to let it flow. And that's what I'm looking for in the end will be in your essay, 700 to 1,000 words profile. And I'm here to help you with that today. So those are some of the techniques. What are you going to hand in? When you hand in your essay through Blackboard Messages, you can just each attach these as separate documents. Rough draft, final draft, Writing Center verification. Letting me know that you went to the Writing Center verification. Now, I've noticed that the Writing Center has helped a lot of people so far this semester. Okay? So you're going to have all that done, and we'll talk at the end today about the dates. I believe the 10th and the 11th of March. Okay? And you'll send that to me. And then class, once again, I will grade it. Class. Hold on one second right quick while I pick up these documents I dropped. All right. So, 1 hour of footwork you need to do. 1 hour where you interview someone. Now, my job today is to help you, continue to help you. At the end of my last lecture, I asked you to start thinking about shaking out what do you think would make a good, who would make a good profile for your paper. I asked in the neighborhood, in the community. Now, let me give you some examples. So, one of the...
Photobomb.
Oh, look.
Marlo. Much more interesting. Hi.
That's nice. That's my wife and our cat, Marlo. My wife is trying to lighten it up, which is good. Class, we got to have some levity. Thank you, Lisa, for letting people see Marlo. That was nice. All right. So, what would make an interesting profile, class? Anyone with an interesting job that you could interview. Once again, face-to-face, social distancing, over Zoom. If you want to do it virtually, that's fine, over the telephone. But it's best, class, to be able to see someone or virtually interview them because that's where you can get the color and the details for your profile. So, anyone with an interesting job, class, you could do a beekeeper. Okay? A beekeeper. How about a classic car restorer? I remember a few years ago I had a woman that told me, Mr. Welsh, I'm a very busy woman. You know, I got 4 kids at home. I'm back at the community college. I'm real happy to be at the community college, but I'm busy. And I said, all right. We're all busy. What's going on? She'd already written a really good memoir for me. Very, very careful. And we're going to talk about those memoirs later on, because my next lecture will be how those are graded. Once again, and I've graded all the classes. Some students still need to make some adjustment. That's okay if they do. Like if you didn't turn in a writing center verification, class, I will grade your profile, but I'm not going to grade it, your memoir, until I have a complete portfolio. And you know what's in the complete portfolio, and then I'll grade it. But some students, once again, I had a student tell me that, I don't want to follow the directions of your class, or I don't want to do this. Class, that doesn't bother me, okay? That doesn't bother me. While you may get away with that in high school, that doesn't happen in college. I'm very calm with that student. I don't want to follow your policies. I want to do things my way. I said, no problem at all. What should I do? Drop the class, all right? Take it with another professor, someone else who will do it another way. I don't care. But if you're going to be in college, you're going to follow the directions, and you're going to follow my directions. So I won't grade the memoir portfolios, and I've graded some just great ones, class. Combination of grades from A to F. My next lecture will be what I saw in those memoirs and how they were graded. Class, and I'll go over things like grammar and sentence structure, et cetera, and content and essay formatting. Okay? I've graded a lot of great portfolios. But you need to have those steps done. Because Writing Center helps. Will it do everything? No. Will it give you the language? No. But it'll help, right? Writing Center isn't responsible for teaching you the English language in a month. Those deficits that you may have from high school, they'll help you with those, but you got to help yourself too. All right? So, anyone with an interesting job you could interview, taking 10 questions. What else could be an interesting profile? Police detective, a cop, a border patrol agent, an auctioneer. Someone's auctioning farm animals or cars. Class, a Catholic nun or priest. Fantastic. Could be, allergies a little rough. Could be a fantastic profile. Class, I'm still fascinated with the life of a nun or the life of a priest because they're married to God, and that's a hard person to be married to, or can be, or a minister. Maybe you want to interview an apostolistic Christian minister who's a snake handler. Do it. Class. Or maybe someone who's into shamanism. Maybe someone who is has dedicated his life or her life to meditation and Buddhism. Fantastic. Maybe someone who's a Hindu. Maybe someone who's a dedicated person who prays 5 times a day in the tradition of a Muslim or is a Muslim. Great, do it. How about class A Panhandler. You got to be careful with this one. Someone's on the street and hustling. Spend an hour with them. You don't have to. Might be kind of hard during COVID. Mariachi musician. There's some mariachi musicians who don't have a lot of work right now because of the pandemic. Talk to them. Well, it'd be a good question to ask a mariachi musician. Write out 10 questions ahead of time in your notes. I'd ask a mariachi musician if I were interviewing them. And I have interviewed musicians before, many over the years. What's the wildest gig you ever played? Tell me about it. What happened? What happened that night? Tell me about the 2 wildest mariachi events you ever played. What happened, class? You know, they played some wild events. I want to know about. How about a teacher, class? You could interview a teacher. Find out. Go interview a teacher in high school. Go back and visit them, or visit them virtually. That helped change your life. Teacher from middle school. A teacher from grade school. I love good profiles of teachers. You know, ask a teacher, what's the hardest thing about your job? What's the best reward? Did you see yourself being a teacher? How did you become a teacher? Where did you go to school? How old are you? Are you married? Do you have any children? What's going on? I want to know about the background. Where'd you grow up? I've read a lot of good memoirs, class. Your last memoir, some of them, on a good few of them, I asked, where are we? Because I want to know, you know, the students writing about middle school, and they're giving us some overall things about middle school. But I'd also like to know, where the hell is the middle school? What's going on with the middle school? Are we in El Paso? Are we in Juarez? Are we in New Mexico? Are we in California? But I've read some good ones, class. They're spinning around in my head because I grade them. I take the time and grade them, as you've seen. When you get them back, Mr. Welsh has taken time. You know, I read one the other day we'll talk about, and then I'm going to move on. Good. It was a good memoir, but student had a lot of run-on sentences. Class, if I didn't point out those run-on sentences on a good essay and show that that student earned a C- on their paper, and they don't clean up those run-on sentences now, chances are they never will, okay? And when I mark those errors, it's to help you, right? So when you go on to the university, you'll have taken care of that, and you'll say, oh, I know now I need to put those periods where they go. It's a major thing in writing that you want to clean up. Might as well get it now, because community college is the last house on the block. Class. Some of us didn't get everything we needed in high school, so we get a chance to clean ourselves up at the community college. That's what I'm here to help you with. So once again, when you leave me and go to wherever you're going to go, Berkeley, UCLA, Harvard, Cornell, UT El Paso, Texas A&M, the University of New Mexico, you get in your next class and say, wow, this student can write. They clean themselves up. Class, how about a teacher? Yes. How about somebody who's working at a burger restaurant? Somebody that's doing the night shift at Whataburger. Interview them. A florist, somebody who deals with flowers. How about a boat restorer? Anyone prominent in a school? How about a border patrol agent? How about a bishop in a church? Or a bishop in the diocese, say, of El Paso, or Juarez, or Las Cruces? How about a stripper or a male exotic dancer? You're going to have to ask them the hard questions. You know, we know there's money to be made, but what's toughest about this job? How about a bartender, class? How about a bouncer at a nightclub? How about a disc jockey? I remember years ago, a student said, Mr. Welsh, can I go to a radio station in Juarez and do an interview. I was like, yes, of course. Anything in Juarez is fantastic. Anything on the Frontera, on La Frontera is fantastic. What do you want to do? They said, well, have you ever heard of a radio station called Orbita? Orbita. And I was like, oh man, I've been listening to that since I moved to town 26 years ago. Yeah. I dig Orbita on the FM dial, 106.7. He went over there Friday night, did his interview all in Spanish, came back, wrote a beautiful profile of a radio station with one disc jockey there. And he wrote the essay in English class. See, that's the beauty of my students. My students can get stories that I can't get because I'm always after stories, but I can speak a little Spanish, but some of my students' Spanish is a lot better than mine, and they could actually do an interview, and that's cool, and never take that for granted. Yo español, mucho. Necesitar mucho trabajar. So I need a lot of work on my Spanish class. But so that's great. If you can get a story like that, you have all my respect in the world. Because a lot of you and some of your Spanish is a lot better than mine. I'm still working on my English and I'm still working on my Spanish. You could get that interview in Spanish. You got to write the essay in English. En inglés, because I'm a professor de inglés, not a professor de español class. Because I can grade an English essay, but I can't grade a Spanish one very well. Class, or you could go to a place. Even if you go to a place, though, you need to interview one person within that place for an hour to bring the pace alive. So, orphanage, you could do a profile of. Tanning salon, talk to the manager. Spa, a gym, a pawn shop, roller skating rink, car wash, auto parts store, Chilo's radiator service, radiator shop. Go to one of the most expensive restaurants in town and talk to a waiter or a manager, a used bookstore. You know, social distance. Interview the manager of the bookstore, someone that works there. A used car lot. Bakery. Auction house. Blues club. Museum. Class, you could do a mechanic. Last semester I had a great review with a mechanic. And it was a student of mine who worked for a mechanic, and the mechanic was a friend of the family. Class, I have all the respect in the world for mechanics because I'm not that great of a mechanic. Or I had a young woman interview a friend of a friend's father who was an engineer on the Burlington Northern, Southern Pacific Railroad. Wow, fantastic. He's an engineer, railroad man. A lot of good stories, class. A lot of good stories. Anything like that. Or class, you could do an activity. Say there may not be a lot of these right now. Some sort of activity outside, like rock climbing at Waco Tanks. I think that may still be going on. I'm not sure. Or if there was like a Frisbee tournament, talk about the organizer. Or class, once again, any sort of musician. And a rapper. Class. So I've just given you about 100 possibilities. Now, your job, go get that interview as soon as possible. Go get the interview because you're going to have these due. And you got to scrutinize your time. You're going to have these due on these due dates. Now, I would come up with a couple of possibilities. I've had students before say, hey, Mr. Welsh, you know what? I couldn't get this done because someone blew me off. And I said, well, you're supposed to have two possibilities, and who's going to be responsible for you getting this done is you. If you can't get it done, problematic. It's not high school. Student last semester, Mr. Welsh, I couldn't get it done because I really didn't want to get it done. What should I do, Mr. Welsh? Drop the class. Take it next semester with someone else, possibly. You don't want to do the work, don't do the work. Drop the class. All right? Not judging him. I was kind to him, class. I was kind to him. We're going to have a situation, too, within the next, certainly by next week, where I'll have a live question and answer session where you can ask me anything. Okay? And we'll have like office hours. Right now, students will ask me things over Blackboard messages. That's great. I answer all of those. But we'll also have a live session to class. What should I do? Drop the class. You're not going to do the work. Got to be responsible, class. And you are. Like I said, I've read some good memoirs, memorable ones. And they get spinning around in my head. Yes. Yes. I read a story 3 days ago from a student that I was grading from one of our classes on autism. It's fantastic. I learned a lot of things that I didn't know. I knew some because I have a friend in town who is autistic or has some aspects of it. And man, this student, good essay class, memoir about growing up autistic. Very good. But class, you got to be where you are. Now, all of us. Let's look at this again. Class, for sections 21288 and 21305, that's your section number. Your due date is the 10th. So you've got time. You got to write it. You got to get it to the writing center. You got to turn it in on the 10th. Best that you have it. And then class, I'll go through it, let you know I have it. If you need to make some adjustments, I'll let you make some adjustments. But you want to make that date on the 10th, class. Now, if you're in sections 21308 and 21355, your due date for these are going to be, as I mentioned last time, the 11th of March. And then, class, we're going to head into spring break. So get those done as best as you can. Get those into me. Get your interviews done. Get them over to the writing center. And class, we'll take it from there one step at a time. Now, so, once again, now, today, decide who you're going to interview. Set up the date and time for that interview. Interview them. Write out 10 questions ahead of time. You're going to talk to a mechanic. What's the best part you like about your job? What's the worst part you like about your job? What's the hardest thing to do on a car? That's going to get a mechanic talking. You're talking to a priest. What's the hardest part of being a Catholic priest? What's the biggest joy? Tell me about how you first felt the presence of God. That's heavy, class, once again. Are you going to interview a beekeeper? You ask them, once again, have you ever been stung? Do you ever dream of bees? How did you get into the business? So we also want all those basic informational things. What you're going to use in your essay, that's up to you. Start out with a nice opening, little background information, quote from the person. Little more background information, quote from the person. Little insight from you, quote from the person. Go back and look at A Surgeon's War on Breast Cancer. Go back and look on, once again, Interview with an Artist, Derek Washington. Class, you're going to interview a used Bookstore owner, ask them about the wildest thing that ever happened in the store. Someone try and steal some books. What's the most expensive book you ever found or brokered the deal for? Class. A bakery. What hours do you get up? How long have you been a baker? What's the hardest thing to bake? What's the most frustrating thing you've ever had happen with a customer? Once again, you ever have anybody trying to steal any bread? Same things, class. It's interesting, like a bartender, if you're old enough, or a bouncer. Fantastic stories. Or say a border patrol agent. What's the most frustrating aspect of your job? What's the wildest day that ever happened on La Linea, out on the line? Tell us about La Frontera. Tell us about the frontier. How good is your Spanish? Do you wish it was better? How good is your English? Do you wish it was better? What's the most dangerous thing that ever happened to you? How well do you feel that you're serving your country? All these things. Do you ever feel conflicted about your job? Class, get that interview done. Spend an hour with the people. Write the essay. Give me the essay, and as I've already gone over, the way you have that handout in your handouts that I've showed you that an essay is supposed to look. And then get those in, class, and then I'm here to help. I'll grade them, I'll grade them one step at a time. I'm here to help you one step at a time. Like I said, I graded some good memoirs. The next lecture I have, which will be coming up soon, I'm going to be talking about those memoirs. I'm going to talk about things like run-on sentences. I'm going to talk about grammar issues. I'm going to talk about format. I'm going to talk about content. I'm going to talk about using punctuation. I'm going to talk about using quotation marks. I'm going to talk about the comma. How important are these things? Class. We're in college now. They're everything. They're everything. We clean those up. We go on. Last night, I was talking to my son here, Patricio, or Patrick, who's a junior at El Paso High, right? And his sister is at UT Austin. She also went to El Paso High. And my wife went to El Paso High, who teaches at the college. Did very well in El Paso High. My son was asking me about different students over the years, and I remember a student, I won't give her last name. Her name's Violetta. And she came and visited me about 5 years ago, and I hadn't seen her in 10 years. I said, Violetta, what's up? She went to Hanks, and I taught her English 1301. Long time ago, at least a decade ago. She said, Mr. Welsh, I wanted to come thank you. It said, no big deal. I'm not here to blow my own horn. I said, what's going on, Violetta? She said, Mr. Welsh, I just finished my master's degree at Columbia University in New York City. I said, look at you, Violetta. So proud of you. And we talked. And the trippy thing was I was doing a book signing at that time at the Eastside Barnes & Noble. University of New Mexico Press, and just put out my new and selected works. And she came in to buy a book. And when I did the book sign on the west side, there were a ton of people there. The east side, there weren't too many people that day. So she's my former student I haven't seen in a decade. She sits down and we talk for an hour and a half about her life and what she was going to be doing after her master's degree from Columbia University in New York City. Now, class, that filled me with joy. That filled me with joy. Now, do I want everyone to be Violetta? No. I can't be her. You can't be her. You got to be you. But someone like that we can look up to, as I look up and say, that's cool. You know, I helped clean her up, her English skills. And she's a star. In Espanol, esta estrella. She's a star. But you're all stars, class. You're all stars. What are you going to do? How bright are you going to shine? I'm here to help, class. I'm here to help. Now, good luck with these, and get these into me on time. And we'll take it one step at a time. And in class, you know what? We got this spring break coming up. What Mr. Welsh is going to be doing over spring break is grading these essays 7 days a week. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to have some time for a break and I'm going to have some fun, because I want to be, you know, a fun person. But I'll be grading 7 days a week during spring break. I'm grading every day now too, to get everything in. So class, good luck with these. Have some fun. Look at those essays that we've studied. Remember, that's the type of writing we're doing. The profile essay, they're fascinating. And then good luck, good luck, good luck, okay? So once again, have a great afternoon and a great rest of the week. And I'm wishing you well, and I'll leave you as the Irish always leave people when they say good luck, good luck, good luck. And that's cool that I can leave you that way, because in not too far from now, we're going to have St. Patrick's Day. All right? Even in the pandemic, St. Patrick's Day is when we remember and salute the Irish in America for all that they've done. When we think of St. Patrick, just like on Cesar Chavez Day, I always spend that day thinking about Mexicanos and Mexican Americans and the Chicano culture I grew up in too, that is so dear to my heart. And I think of Cesar Chavez, the great American, okay? And these holidays like Martin Luther King today, where we get to think about, you know, these seminal figures in history. St. Patrick's Day. That's where they brought that to America so they could say, you know what, the Irish have done some good in America, rather than thinking of them as wild animals on the streets and drunkards and all these stereotypes that they used to think of the Irish in America as being wild, class. I've known some wild Irishmen and women, but I've known some ones that aren't so wild too, you know. We can't change who we are, what we are. We just do the best we can with what we have. Class, I'm wishing you well. Good luck, good luck. I hope you stay safe. I hope your family stays safe. I always keep my students in my meditations and my prayers. You have a great afternoon. Until the next time, bye-bye.